Hey members, good afternoon. Welcome to this week's pre-recorded rec therapy segment. Since this isn't going to be live, we're just gonna hop right into it. And the first thing that I want to do is review our benefits of painting that we covered last week. So we learned that through painting, benefit number 1, we can exercise the right side of our brain and promote creativity. We learned benefit number 2, that we can exercise the left side of our brain through problem solving when we constantly have to adapt through the progression of our painting. Benefit number 3, we learned that we are practicing movement and manual dexterity. So whether that is gripping a brush, dipping a brush into paint, or making long streaks across a canvas, you can practice both fine and gross motor skills through painting. Benefit number 4, cope and distract. Painting allows us a very safe place to help us process difficult emotions or situations, as well as distract us as we constructively occupy our minds and our bodies. Benefit number 5, enhance self-awareness through patience, through concentration, and through visualization. Painting gives us an opportunity to learn more about ourselves. So those were all of the 5 benefits that we learned about, but we also highlighted that if you need an adaptation in order to participate in painting, that's okay. You can still receive the benefits of painting even though it might look different than it used to or different from your peers. And Christine and Kinsey, our current OT students, gave us some really great ways to make painting a little bit easier. So thank you to you both for that. And as I rewatched last week's video, a few things really stood out to me that I want to dive into a little bit more this week. These are number 1, leisure, number 2, leisure barriers, and number 3, flow. So, starting with leisure, what is leisure? Leisure is a term that's often used synonymously with recreation, and it essentially means free time. More specifically, the use of free time for enjoyment. As we have had a surplus of free time due to our current COVID circumstances, I want to invite you all to reflect on your leisure time. Good news is, this week's OT activity on time management includes this. So if you haven't done that yet, I definitely encourage you to do so. In this activity, you are going to be keeping track of all the activities that you do throughout the day. Then you are going to categorize them, and then you are going to make a pie chart of how your time is spent in each category. One of those categories should be leisure, the time that you spend engaging in those activities that bring you enjoyment, whether it's art or crafting, maybe puzzles, reading, gardening, cooking, games. The list could go on and on. But sometimes, we kind of forget about leisure. Life can get busy, and we'll just usually abandon our leisure activities. That's kind of like the first thing to go. But sometimes, though, we really want to engage in leisure, but there are other barriers. So examples of leisure barriers could include time, money, transportation, as well as other physical or social barriers. And in the midst of a global pandemic, we've seen COVID both promote leisure and act as a leisure barrier. It's kind of a unique relationship that it's had with leisure. With stay-at-home orders, we've had a plethora of leisure time. So that's great because it allows us to maybe quite literally force us to get back to some of our favorite things or discover something new to occupy our time. But in some cases, it could absolutely be a leisure barrier as well, especially our leisure activities that lie within that social domain that really require us to be with other people and interact with other people. So if you complete your pie chart in the OT activity and you realize that you aren't spending as much time in your leisure category, you could be thinking, so what? Like, why does it matter? Well, that answer has to do with flow. What the heck is flow? So if you caught my video last week, we talked a little bit about this, but like I said, I wanted to take this week to really dive further in depth. So in leisure and recreation, flow is a state in which we become so engaged in an activity that all of our worries, our problems, and even time itself just begins to disappear. So I'm sure as I said that, you're thinking back to the last time that happened. And in order for this to happen, it depends on a few things. So the challenge of the activity and our skill level have to be in perfect balance. And what I mean is, if the challenge is greater than our skill level, then we experience anxiety. If our skill level is higher than the challenge, then we experience boredom. So what happens is when the challenge of the activity is manageable to our skill level, then we can achieve flow. So then when you think about it like that, everyone's flow is going to be different. It's going to be different because it depends on every individual's skill levels, their perceived challenges, and even the activity itself. One activity might be significantly more challenging than another. It just depends on the individual. So, why is flow important? Well, when we achieve a state of flow, we get a rush of feelings of enjoyment, of accomplishment, of fulfillment. And all of these things are associated with a sense of purpose and self-actualization. And this, in addition to what we said about our worries and time just completely disappearing, are also reasons why leisure and recreation-based activities are extremely effective when used as coping skills. So, those are just a few points about leisure that I really wanted to talk to you guys about today and reflect on. And like I said, I really encourage you guys to go back and do the OT activity. That would be very supplemental to what we are doing today, talking about leisure and time and things like that. So for today's challenge, I would like for you to answer one or both, preferably both, of the following questions. And feel free to leave your answers in the comments, or if you're not comfortable with that, that's totally okay. You're welcome to email me. I will attach my email in this post. So question number 1, what barriers do you typically encounter in your leisure? How has COVID specifically impacted your leisure? this could be positive or negative. Like we talked about earlier, it could positively impact your leisure in a sense that you tried something new and you found something that you really enjoy, or you got back to doing something that maybe you hadn't done in a while. It can also obviously negatively affect your leisure if you are definitely more of like a social butterfly and you want to have that person-to-person interaction. How can you overcome leisure barriers? So I know that was like 3 questions in one, but that was question number 1. So if you can answer those. And as I mentioned last week, we would love to help you problem solve to get you back to the leisure activities that you enjoy. If you feel like there is a barrier that you really don't know how to overcome and you just want some help brainstorming, or maybe it requires an actual physical adaptation, we just want to get you back to the things that you enjoy. Because like we said, the importance of flow and the benefits that we get from that, the feelings of enjoyment, accomplishment, fulfillment, and overall purpose. These are reasons that we engage in recreation and leisure. And question number 2, what leisure activity were you engaged in the last time that you achieved flow? Is that your favorite leisure activity? Maybe the last time that you achieved flow was not something that you would consider your favorite leisure activity, or maybe it is. And do you engage in that activity as much as you would like? And remember, flow is that state in which we become so engaged in the activity that all our worries and our problems just disappear. And it's when the challenge of the activity and our skill level are in perfect balance. And that's going to look different for each individual, for each leisure activity. So, thank you guys very much for joining me this afternoon, and I hope that you have a good rest of your week. I will see you again next week, and in the meantime, you guys have some homework to do. So get that OT activity done and email me or drop in the comments the answers to those questions. So thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.